I'll start our little session now.
Okay.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining our Matchmaker session today. My name is Juliana Weber, and I'm the project coordinator for CityLAB Hamilton. Matchmaker events are where we learn more about the projects that have been submitted by City of Hamilton staff, and we work with faculty members from Redeemer, Mohawk, and McMaster to find good student, faculty, and staff partnerships to take on those projects. Today we are joined by Kate Mannen, Manager of Partnership Development and Support Services at CityHousing Hamilton. CityLAB has had several wonderful projects with City Housing in the past, and we're excited to collaborate with them on these projects. She brings two challenges to us today, developing a sustainable community safety model and implementing human-centered design at City Housing. So welcome, Kate. Thanks for joining us. And if you could tell us about your role at the city and how your work impacts Hamiltonians.
Okay, thank you. City Housing Hamilton is essentially a landlord. I think I'd like to clarify that because a lot of people confuse us with housing services in the city. So we do not direct housing. We have about 50% of the social housing buildings in Hamilton, but the other 50% would go to nonprofits like Kiwanis, Sons of Italy, Good Shepherd, things like that. So we have over 7,000 units and over 13,000 people. About 60% of our housing is seniors, probably another 35% is families, and really that very small remainder is for singles, those who are between 18 and 59. So it's quite broad. My job in partnership development is to develop intentional partnerships. We have, I have a team of tenant support workers whose job largely is to prevent eviction. However, they carry a portfolio of 800 units each, and you really can't get into case management. We've recognized that if we truly want to make a difference in the lives of our tenants, we have got to develop partnerships to provide those support services. So that's the partnership development. The support services really are the tenant support workers, although support services also includes our pest control. We have an internal pest control team of 12 that deals with mostly bed bugs because unfortunately, City Housing and most buildings in Hamilton are living with pests. And through the pandemic, things have only become worse.
What does some of the partnerships look like? Who are you partnered with?
We have priority groups that we would like to house, which would be Indigenous, persons of color, newcomers, so on and so forth. So in some of our really challenging buildings where I would say, 80% of the demographics of the building are vulnerable sector, and Vanier Towers is a perfect example. So we have brought in Wesley to provide emergency food. We brought in St. Joe's for social work, mental health and addictions. We now have Grenfell Ministries, which is a grassroots organization that deals very well with people coming out of encampments. We have HRIC, which is the Hamilton Regional Indian Council, and they have head leases, so they are housing Indigenous youth who have been homeless. But every building is unique, and every building has different unique needs. So although we have two proposals, one is around security. I would say really we're looking at Vanier Towers because City Housing isn't funded for anything except bricks and mortar. So anything, and just to give you an idea, it costs $20 million a year to maintain City Housing buildings. We receive $8 million in funding. We have a shortfall of $12 million per year, and that's to maintain things. There is no funding for my support services team. So every dollar that is spent on support services is a dollar less that we can spend on maintenance. Wow. So partnerships become even more critical, but they look different. And so that's one of our research projects this year is we would like to find out the specific challenges and needs of each building. And particularly with our newcomers and immigrants because we feel that they are underserved. And, you know, if you have a service that comes in to provide programming, we bring in a lot of wellness programming, for example, to seniors' buildings. But if the services are delivered in English and the flyers are in English and so on and so forth, and all you're going to get are English-speaking people, and the majority of the building could be Asian or Russian or Croatian or.
Yes.
Yeah. 27 different nationalities live at City Housing Hamilton.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really something. So maybe we can talk specifically about each challenge. So maybe you can give us some background on the sustainable community safety model
Yes.
idea that you have. Tell us a little bit about that and where you're hoping to go with that.
So we're very excited with this because of Vanier Towers and its notoriety, and it's really based on the vulnerability of the tenants. We've had to put in 24/7 concierge service. So there are guards at the door 24/7. You can't get in unless you show ID and so on and so forth. And that's great, except it costs us almost $1 million a year, which we don't have. We've been talking to other housing providers, and in fact, London, Ontario won the ONFA, the Ontario National Nonprofit Housing Association. They won the Innovation Award because they worked with their city to create a model where security isn't just security guards like we have. They're social workers that can also do security. So they take a community-based approach, a harm reduction approach, and we would love to mirror that, but we need to find out how many other housing organizations across the province or the country have developed a community safety model.
Yeah. What
are the costs? What's the return on the investment, right? Are we seeing those critical numbers of fire, police, and ambulance go down? And, you know, is it an encompassing system that can become affordable? So how they've done it in London is they have in rent geared to income, they receive permission from their city to raise the rents nominally, like say, I have no idea, $5 a month or something like that. And that money can then fund the security, the community-based security. Okay. But we don't, like, that's as much as I know. So what we'd really like to do is have the students dig into that research and find out how other housing organizations are meeting their security needs, because it's getting, social housing's changed dramatically in the past 5 years. You know, we're seeing huge rates of opioid overdoses, increased crime and violence. And we want to bring safety and security to our tenants, right? You should be able to live at home safely. You shouldn't have people breaking down your doors. Yeah.
The opioid crisis response is actually another CityLAB proposal for next semester as well.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it'd be really interesting for students to get in touch with London and talk about even just the creation of how did they get to the implementation. Yeah. What was the research that was done?
What kind of permissions? Who did they have to seek permission from? Because, you know, the service manager, which is housing services in Hamilton, they identify, and it's a provincial legislation that identifies how much the rent geared to income would be. So how did they get around that? And how do they fund this? And were there any grants available and so on and so forth? Because I think what I've seen is Ottawa has their own security system, internal security system. So does Toronto. So we're wondering, how can some social housing agencies afford a community-based security and some can't? And how can we become one of those that has a community-based safety model? Yeah,
it'd be really interesting to see what students can come up with. So let's jump on to the other, your next one, which you've already sort of described the background to it, but implementing a human-centered design at City Housing. What does that look like?
So it really is another research project. These are both research projects and a lot of data collection. Because unfortunately, believe it or not, our software system currently does not capture a lot of demographic information.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what is the primary language of people. I don't know what their needs are. And I do know that when we offer certain kinds of programming, so for example, we might bring in an affordable food program. We might bring in a food market where tenants can come and pick up food that they need. Well, is the food that we're supplying, is it culturally relevant, right? Is it food that people will want to eat? But even more than that, have we reached these people, right? If we put up, we can put up flyers in different languages if we knew what the languages were going to be, or if we knew the best way to reach these people. So we want to find out who's there, what are their needs, what needs are being met, what needs are not being met, because this will help us in terms of our strategic planning now and in the future, because City Housing and the province generally is going through a renaissance period where there's going to be more affordable housing built. But the funders, the federal government, will fund bricks and mortar. But we know from our experience that if you don't build in those services, support services, whether it's through us or through intentional partnerships, then tenancies are unlikely to be successful in the future. So, we need to know who we have and how we can help them.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of what that data collection could look like, especially while we're still sort of in the pandemic era?
Yes, I would think that it can be surveys, which we can help in some of our seniors buildings. So for example, we do have a quite an interesting project going with tree equity. And they have been doing a really good job of reaching out to our buildings. They've been sending the students out. I could actually show you. They have flyers that they've been putting up in the buildings. So something similar could happen where they identify, here's what we're looking for. And if you want to participate in the survey, here's the link to participate. Or if you'd like somebody to call you, right? I think that's how we're going to go. Now, we know in January that we should be able to return somewhat safely. So down the road, and depending on the timelines of these projects, pop-ups may be possible within the buildings where students go, say, sit in the lobby and, approach people as they come in. Honestly, we find that is the best outreach method for reaching tenants. They don't tend to read a lot of stuff. I guarantee if you mailed them something, maybe if it had Redeemer or McMaster on the envelope, people might open it. But I guarantee if it says City Housing, blue box.
And it's also the question of if the idea is we're trying to figure out how to best reach them.
Yeah. Yes.
If we're only posting a flyer in English with a link where they need their computer,
exactly.
There's a lot of challenges there. So students will need to figure out a good way to collect that data.
We have a website, the students would be able to post something on the website. But yes, we're really looking for students' ideas about how do you reach a very diverse demographic.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to share about things that you're looking for, maybe from students specifically or outcomes?
Well, in terms of outcomes, we're really looking for whatever data they can find for us. Okay. A final report would be lovely, but I'm really just interested in the data. But we need students who can work autonomously, right? They'll have a lead, one of my team or me, but we're all, up to here with work. So, we could probably meet with them once or twice a week, but we wouldn't be able, we hope not to supervise, right? We hope that they can work independently. And can check in, we can work out check-ins and so on and so forth. But what I'm not looking for is a student who comes to me and says, okay, what do I do next?
Right.
I want them to tell me what they're going to do next.
Absolutely. Well, let's we can wrap this up now and move on to our Q&A, but thank you for joining us. And
thank you very much.
Absolutely.